Hi, hello, my name is Gabio, and welcome to another video. Today, about 3 months late, as we usually do out here, we are doing my favorite things of 2025. I'm going to be so honest in saying that this feels really weird to do long content again. If you've been following me for the past few months, I've been doing almost exclusively short videos for my Improvement Hell Challenge, and this feels different. But I love to yap, I really do, and I'm really excited to come back and to do at least this video. Again, my rules for my favorites of the year, at least this year, what I let myself do is anything that I consumed in 2025. Most of the things didn't come out in 2025, but there were things that I discovered, consumed, appreciated, and changed me in some way. That's generally the criteria that I have for a favorite thing, especially when I talk about my favorites out there, is that not only is it something that I like, something that I care about, and that I appreciate a lot, but it's something that genuinely changes the way I perceive the medium it's using. So that's what I used for this video as a criteria. Let's start with one that is genuinely crazy, and almost all of you are gonna roll your eyes at this pick, but yeah, let's start with video games. My pick for my favorite 2025 game is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I am still actively playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and my thoughts on that game would definitely not have them on this list. However, I think that Final Fantasy Remake really does. I'm gonna keep this lampshading brief. However, I can already hear everyone saying, if you like the remake so much, you should really play the original. That's how you could get the main story. And although I agree, I hate turn-based combat a lot in general. It's something that bores me. Even the games that I love the most that use that, the combat is my least favorite. It's just something that I have a difficulty connecting to. So Remake having that same story, those same characters, but letting me experiment it in action game setting really was how I was able to consume it and love it so much. For Remake, what I love so much is just the action. I really like the gameplay of it. I really like the feel of it. There's a simplicity there, but there's also a depth of gameplay that is really fun and very unique. I really love the RPG elements and the homage essentially to the original. If you don't know how Remake works, and I'm pretty sure that's also how Final Fantasy 15 works, but I have not played that one yet, but the way that it works is that it is a character action game, but it has some RPG elements. Like in most video games, you level up your character, but also in the mid-action, you can essentially pause the game or slow it down and then let the party members that you're not actively embodying right now and set up some actions that are going to be able to do like you would in a turn-by-turn game, and then go back to the action immediately. And I really like that twist on a turn-based combat essentially, and I just think that it's really well balanced, and especially in Remake, it's just really fun to play, and it's really engaging, and it's very pleasant. I just think they struck gold with that mechanic to me, because it's just really fun. What I really love about it, and that's why I'm hard-pressed to think that people don't like the remakes compared to the original, is that I really fell in love with this story. Cloud is an ex-soldier, an ex-military guy, but as in when we talk about soldier, and again I feel stupid talking about it because everybody and their mother knows, but in that universe, the soldiers, all capitalized, are genetic experiments essentially. They're people that have been genetically modified to be the best soldiers, and that's what he does. But he defected, he left, he doesn't want to be a soldier anymore. And then throughout this story, what you discover is that he is really jaded now, and a part of it is because he's the protagonist, so he needs to let the player do the choices, but he has a very rich text and a very rich past, and especially interesting is that he cared so much. He really wanted to make a difference. He wanted his impact on the world to be felt, and it was really important to him. And it's a thing that because of the circumstances, he was not able to do that, and part of it is because of Sephiroth. So I have to admit, Sephiroth and his character is the reason why I initially was okay, what is this about? And I need to play this game, I need to understand what's going on there and play it. Okay, I'm predictable, but also he has happened to be the person that I find the most interesting, the most tragic, and really good. So his story essentially is that I don't want to go too deep in the story of Final Fantasy in general, but the story is that the soldiers, he is the original soldier. He is boosted by the Earth's essence in a way, but he was always groomed and convinced that he was a direct descendant from the ancients, which is what Aerith is from. He was always convinced that he was actually the direct descendants of the ancients, and the Earth belongs to him. And the moment that he realized that he was actually a science experiment, he snapped and said, no, this is not true, the Earth still belongs to me. And then that's when he like started his villain arc. And I think that makes him such an interesting, complex, vibrant character of like, he was lied to and he sees an entitlement to the world, but also the people that he's fighting against are people that are trying to destroy the world with their greed. And so there's a lot of layers there, and I really appreciate his story. Especially his relationship with Cloud is really interesting because he like torments him. Cloud is very terrorized, petrified, scared. He hallucinates Sephiroth a bunch of times throughout the story, and Sephiroth doesn't want to kill him. He kind of wants Cloud to be with him towards the end. And I don't know, I love their dynamic a lot, but even further than that, I really like the other characters. I think Tifa is a really interesting character. I didn't think I would like her as much as I do, but I love her optimistic nature. I love how like down to earth she is. Barrett is such a good, deep character. He has so much to him. I love especially that he has a daughter that he cares so much about, but also like he wants to see the world better for her, but also by doing that he puts himself in danger, terrified that he'll never be able to be there for her. And that's so impactful. And then there's Aerith, which is so sweet and kind and lovable. The universe is super rich, the characters are really fun. Generally, most of the like side missions are engaging and pleasant, and I really enjoyed my time in Final Fantasy VII Remake a lot. That game is really the one that I liked the most, and that really, I don't know, I cared a lot about it. For the piece, the background is Sephiroth, and I really took a lot of inspiration about the Magic the Gathering card set for that. There's a card with essentially the same pose. It's also a pose that he does in the game, but not necessarily from that angle, so I just wanted to disclaim that. And then I wanted Cloud in the front with his fucking sword. You'll see all of these pieces, I kind of designed them as posters because I think that's fun. So there's a bunch of places that I opened up to make sure that like there could be space for the writing, for the logo, the title card, etc. Moving right on, let's go to my favorite music of 2025, and the band I chose to represent the music of 2025 is Bring Me the Horizon. I always had a really big appreciation from afar to Bring Me the Horizons. I was a fan / enjoyer of Can You Feel My Heart, especially in a time where everybody was shitting on that song. I was like, it's a bit corny, but also like, I love the emotion, the raw vocals. Like, that's something that like I've talked about before, but the thing I think in music that like catches me the most is the emotion, especially in the vocals. That really gets to me, and I think like Can You Feel My Heart and a lot of Bring Me in general is really exemplified by their emotion. But then in 2020, I also really liked their song Parasite Eve from that EP of the time, Posthuman. Sidebar, I watched that movie because of that. I wanted to research, and it's pretty good. I liked it a lot. But to go back on that project is that I really liked that single, but for some fucking reason I never took the time to like actually listen to the entire project. I've always had a very big appreciation for their sound, but always from afar. I think it was before I deleted TikTok, I heard Top 10 Statues That Cried Blood, and I just a moment and I was like, yeah, I really need to see what they're doing now. And that was the beginning of the end. I really deep dove into their whole discography all year, and I started with their most recent project, which is Next Gen. It's so good. I really liked it. There's a big lore around it, and this is what this piece that I'm drawing is referencing. I don't want to go into the story of the music right now, because I don't think that's what makes music such good music. Like, it's like Gorillaz in a way. I love Gorillaz. I love their lore, but also like their music really speaks for themselves, and that's how I want to discuss Bring Me as well. It's just, that's what I decided to do as an art piece. I would say that my favorite album of theirs is probably Ammo. I think that it is so raw and emotional and beautiful. It's been on repeat a lot when I was designing some characters, some OCs. I think they're a really good band about like talking about feelings that are not necessarily easy to talk about, especially in love. I think their point of view is super intriguing and really well done. and I really like most, if not all, of their projects. I really appreciate Bring Me the Horizon. My favorite song of theirs is probably Follow You, which I know is like, it's kind of a basic answer, but Follow You is just such a beautiful song. It reminds me so much of my OCs, but even apart from that, it's just like a beautiful ballad-ish with like metal influences. And one of the reasons why Bring Me is really the music of the year for me is that they really like kind of opened the door for me, and I know that's stupid because Bring Me the Horizon is like as pop as like heavy metal can be, but like they kind of opened the door to a more severe sound, a more like heavy sound. I feel like I've just like been a lot more into like an eclectic, intense sound, and I feel like they really opened the door for me. So that's my music of the year, and for the art piece, I'm so happy with it. It's so beautiful. My whole concept after that for all of the pieces, I've talked a bit during the Final Fantasy one, but I wanted all of them to be very poster-esque. I wanted them to be like eventually potentially like printable in like a way that I would like really appreciate, but also I really wanted to push myself. Same as last year, essentially, like in the schedule of like the way that I do fan art and stuff, like I don't always get to practice exactly the type of art that I do, and I feel like doing like fan art like this that are for things that I love and to show my favorite really lets me explore and discover new art tricks, art pieces, like tackle it in a new, different, unique, fun way. And so that's what I'm channeling for my favorites. It was the same last year, it's the same this year, but I'm really trying to go experimental, play with texture, play with like a new kind of art that I can do. And I'm so happy with the texture. I really tried, I'm going to talk about it next, but I really wanted to take a lot of inspiration from Sui Shida, which is the, in parts, writer of Tokyo Ghoul, because I always love his illustration style, his backgrounds, and especially like the painterly way that he renders. So I really wanted to like channel that-ish, and yeah, I am so happy with this. I really like the colors. This was actually the first one I did for that series, and I'm so proud of it, and I hope you like it too. Now let's move on to a category that I did not have last year, but probably should have. But let's talk about my favorite book of the year. I have enjoyed a few books this year. However, when I was ready to find a book that I wanted to draw, I had two options in my mind. One of them was You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White. If you followed me for a long time, you know that I fucking love everything that Andrew ever did. I love all of his books, but the one I actually decided to go with is Sui Shida's Choujin X series. So I've been a big fan of Tokyo Ghoul. You've also seen that if you've been on my channel for a while. I have an old fucking video about it. I've always been intrigued by Choujin X, but it never like intrigued me enough to like buy it, if that makes sense, especially in the beginning. But I don't know what happened this year, but it was like, I feel like I need to like rediscover it. What's going on? What's happening? I've read so much of it. I'm almost caught up. So I'm at like volume 11 right now. But when I designed this piece, I was at volume 4 or 5, which explains the composition if you read it. Essentially, if you don't know, Choujin X is very similar to Tokyo Ghoul in themes, but quite different in tone. Choujin X is the story of two boys specifically. It is Tokyo, which is the main character, and his best friend Azuma. They have a very complex relationship, especially at the beginning. Tokyo is very unassuming. He's very, not solitary, but he's not very willing to like go outside of his way to do things. He's very shy. He's like kind of stupid in a way. And Azuma is the contrary. He's very intelligent. He's super proficient in the hand-to-hand combat, and he's even like a vigilante. And so their whole social paradigm relies on the fact that Tokyo relies on Azuma. But then by the end of chapter 1, they are pursued by a Choujin, which in that world is, it's like a mutant from X-Men essentially. It's someone that has evolved to have powers or otherwise supernatural aspect to their life. And they're pursued by one. They're really scared, but they see a drug that it seems to be like Choujin juice. So they're like, what the fuck? Let's try this. And they inject themselves, and nothing happens to Azuma, but Tokyo becomes a bird. In canon, his name is the Vulture Choujin. He becomes a Beast Choujin, which is a type. There's a lot of subtypes of Choujin, but a Beast Choujin is a person that can change parts of their body to become something else. We see a lot of different Beast Choujins, but he specifically has the capacity to become a bird, to speak with birds. But also the fact that he's a Beast Choujin has a lot of impact on his relationship to the world and the main villain. Azuma fucking loses it inside because like he's useless now, because like his whole sense of self relied on the fact that he was important because he had talent that other people, especially Tokyo, didn't have. And now he doesn't have that. And that is the core of Choujin X. And this is what I love the most, is the relationship between these two dumbasses that refuse to see that their relationship is fucking toxic. And to me, that's some real good fucking food. In the background, you can see the giant lady with arms for eyes. This is the current Choujin X, called Zora. Essentially, in the world, there's always Choujins. There's a bunch of them, but then there is the X, which is the most powerful one in existence. But the current Choujin X, so Zora, used to be one of the good guys. She used to be the leader of the current group that the two boys are in, and her power specifically is to see the future. However, the more that she used that power, the more that she was just imagining this calamity destroying the world, and so she became powerful and corrupted. She literally forced herself into a constant chaos state to be able to stop the calamity from happening. But according to everyone, including other Choujins that can see the future, the calamity does not exist. She is destroying everything in the purpose of saving something that will not happen. But this constant fear and this constant chaos state is really, really fucking hard on her. And so she turns a bit crazy and she gets herself super pumped on a lot of morphine. She is in the perpetual search for the next Choujin X, the person that she's going to be able to like drop all of her powers onto, and she believes it is Tokyo. This story is so fun. It's very, well, it's very manga. I'm not an avid manga reader, so there's a bunch of things that are like culturally different from me, and obviously I like fucking roll my eyes like whenever there's like either a panty shot or like someone talking about boobs. I'm just like, okay, these are like 16-year-olds, can we move on? But apart from that, the story, the core of the story, and what is important in it is really the relationship between the characters and their story, and it is so very sweet, so very good. I really like Suishida's art style a lot. I've talked about it so many times yet, and I think this is a story that is so fun to consume, and it is beautiful and really well done, and that's why I decided to be the book of the year, because it's a whole series, but I really enjoyed it a lot. And then for the piece in itself, well, I decided to represent them with colors, especially Azuma is always yellow, Tokyo is always red. Zora is not necessarily implied to have any specific colors, but her volume is blue, and so I added a bit more green to the blue to be like teal-ish and beautiful, and I'm really happy with this piece. It's very different from me, but I like it a lot, and I think it represents well what Choujin X represents to me. Let's move on to potentially the biggest deep cut here, and the one that will make me sound the most like a Quebecois. Let's go with my favorite series of the year, which was The Night Logan Woke Up by Xavier Dolan. If you've never watched anything from Xavier Dolan, I highly recommend it. He is my favorite director, especially Quebec director, but director in general. All of his movies are so fucking good, and I think that this series really exemplifies just what he can do with a story. I implore you to go watch Mommy, and if you don't have too much mommy issues, go see J'ai tué ma mère, I Killed My Mother. These movies are immaculate, and if you want just like some like gay rom-com-ish that's like very sweet, very like there's heaviness to it, but it's really sweet overall, go watch Mathias and Maxime, because it's really worth it. Xavier Dolan movies all have something in common, in which that Quebec as a place is kind of a side character. I think he is the best at exemplifying Quebec small towns, Quebec culture, and that's really what he imbues everything that he works with really well. And I think that especially Logan was such a story that was centered on small Quebec towns, small Quebec families, and what happens to them and how we deal with normal life. Not that we're like unique or anything, I'm just saying that like I think I felt the most represented by Quebec small town by this series. It's a lot of character studies, and it's a lot about like queer people, the way they like tackle their own life. His cinematography is so very important to me. It's so beautiful, and I love it so much. So imagine my surprise when I learned that not only did Xavier Dolan release a series about 2 years ago last summer, but also that because of their lack of publicity around it, I've, one, never heard of it, and two, could not watch it legally. Needless to say, I found a way to watch it as soon as possible. It's really short, it's 5 episodes. It's like about 4 hours of content, and like I watched it in 2 sittings, and I was like on the fucking floor. It's so fucking good. So it's like, it's an adaptation from a play. Because the story is a mystery above all, I'm not going to go too much into details into anything, but it starts off with with a woman dying. This woman was almost a mayor at some point. She had a family. She was well regarded in her community. And then she was towards the end of her life and she needed like care every day. And then one day she just felt really bad. She got a phone call and then she died. Be wary of a content warning for sexual assault in the next 2 minutes. But Madeline had 4 kids, 2 of which were a lot older than the other 2. And tragedy struck when the neighbor sexually assaults the daughter. Everything stopped there. Well, she dropped out from being a mayor because of the events taking place. The daughter started acting up and having a lot of a harder time, so they tried to send her to a pension school. But when they announced it to her over Christmas Eve dinner, they had a massive argument, which caused the father to have a heart attack and die. Everybody got estranged. The daughter moved to Montreal, far away from them, and almost never talked to them. And then the neighbor moved away and they never talked. And then the story picks up the day that she dies. We see that the family has to reunite for the funeral. One of the last wish of the mother was that the person who would embalm her was going to be her daughter, because that's her job. And so all of these people that have been estranged for years are forced to be in the same room. And Julian, the eldest brother, the best friend of the neighbor before it happened, essentially the point of view character of the entire story, he cannot stand his sister and what happened to her. And so his entire life he has pushed everything and everyone away. He has developed a very severe drug addiction. He discards his wife at every moment possible, hiring sex workers instead. He's just really not doing well mentally. Because of that, he gave that same addiction to his youngest brother. And Mireille, the sister, has a very complex and deep sexual fantasy kink that she uses usually to cope with stuff, and she goes on Tinder and other dating apps to get people to do that with her, but they're very specific, especially because they are tackling the exact way in which she was assaulted. None of these people are doing well, and then they're stuck to go through a reunion and tackle their fucking issues, and I am obsessed with it. This show is so fucking good. I try to not reveal anything. This show is about a lot of things, but just know that it tackles personal identity, family, interpersonal relationships, tackles gay identity and queer people, especially in a place that they don't feel safe coming out, and I love it very much. The acting throughout is perfect. The art direction is so immaculate. Episode 3 and episode 4 are some of my favorite episodes of any TV shows ever. I love this show. I really, really recommend watching it. As for the piece, the background is a reference to, in episode 1, one of the first shots of the series is a gay bashing that happens in the city that we are in the town, and then a lingering shot on a burning pride flag, because it seems to be a recurring motif. For this piece specifically, I decided to work a lot with actual promotional pictures. So in the background, we can see teenage Julian in what is probably the most important night of his life. And then on the other side, I decided to represent the motorcycle driver that is haunting Julian during the entire show. And in his retrovisor, we can see a teenage Logan, Laurier, the titular character, which is also the neighbor, and what happened after it came out, which is also the cover art for the soundtrack album made by Hans Zimmer, by the way. I decided to add a lot of grain. It's orange. I really love it. And for the final pick, another controversial pick. My favorite movie of 2025 was Suspiria. I think some of these choices would be very divisive. However, I do think that I see a lot of value in stuff that other people would otherwise disregard. And I think in general, my taste for art is very out there. My partner and I have a tradition. Every fall, around October, generally it's the month of October, we try to watch at least one horror movie a day during the month of October, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, etc. It's been 2 or 3 years now, and it's really fun to do, and it lets us discover new shit and also rewatch some goodies and oldies. And this time, one of the ones that was on the list and that one of my roommates really wanted to watch was Suspiria, the original 70s one. And I watched it and I was like, wow, this movie is beautiful. There's nothing here. Pardon my hyperbole. I think that there's some things for some people in there. I think the art direction is fucking phenomenal, and I think a lot of the acting is really good. However, I think that the plot and the characters are so one note that I really struggled to connect with it. But I still was hooked by like the concept, and I was like, I know there's a remake. I want to watch the remake. And then literally like a week after, I got a massive like headache, like almost a migraine, and I called off work, and I was like, you know what? Let's watch this 3-hour movie. And like, to put in context, at that point I was really, really involved into the book that I'm writing, and I mean, I still am, but anything that has to do with any witches is something that interests me, and I fell in love with that fucking movie. I think it is so complex and interesting. It's a long movie. It's like 2 hours 30. There's a lot that they hash into it, and it's just really fucking incredible. I don't love Dakota Johnson. I don't think that she's a great actress, but I think that she works really well in this. I think Mia Goth works really well in this. I think that Tilda Swinton, like, it's one of my favorite roles of hers, and I do like her in most things, so it means a lot. I just think that the world building, the character development, the fact that it's happening in Berlin, the fact that this movie is in parts about the Berlin Wall and like Nazi occupied Germany, and like after what happens after, it's about womanhood and like women solidarity, but women infighting, and like in general infighting between like communities that need to like rely on each other. It's a movie that has so much. It also somewhat tackles then studios and the rivalry inside of it, but then like being the best means that someone else is going to be the worst. Like, there's so much going into this, and it was so delectable. I loved it so much. The end sequence is so good on paper. I think that a lot of the slow-mo there looks cheap, but the actual like concept of the finale of the movie is so fucking cool. I love this movie so much. When I watched it, I was alone, so a week after I was like, I'm still thinking about this, and I asked my partner if I could show it to them, and they were like, okay. And they didn't like it as much as I did, of course, but like, I rewatched it and I was like, oh no, there's something special here. I just like it a lot. The reason why I'm calling it divisive is that like, not a lot of people like the remake of Suspiria, and again, I understand all of the criticism, but I don't know, man. I think there's something so cool there, and obviously a lot of it is because of my personal interest. I love witches. I love dark stories concerning witches, especially because like, in part, I wanted to watch it because I really wanted to like see what they would do with it, essentially, but I really, really loved it. I don't know if I recommend it because like, again, it's complicated and not a lot of people like it. It's really slow, but if you like character studies, if you like something that's like meticulous and like it kind of talks about like witchcraft and has a hidden but pretty deep lore, this might be good for you. A lot of the body horror scenes are so fucking gross and cool and beautiful. For the piece, I decided to do my favorite scene from the movie. So when Dakota Johnson, it's the ending essentially, I'm not going to spoil it more, and then represent what comes out of her chest with like, on one hand it's Madame Blanc, and on the other hand it's Mother Suspiriorum. And then if you saw, I started with something, I wanted to be a bit more orange, a bit more purple, like experimenting with colors, and then at the end I put like this red overlay layer on top, and it's like everything fit into place finally, and I was like, this is what this needed, and I can't be happier with it. So those were my favorites. Let's talk a bit about the specific pieces and them as a collection. So as a collection, in order, it was Bring Me, Final Fantasy, Laurier, Suspiria, and Choujin. I kind of started accidentally in Bring Me. I don't really have synesthesia, but colors are very important to me, and I subconsciously like place colors onto stuff a lot. Often, a lot of times it's like the color that makes sense, of course. So like, to me, Bring Me the Horizon, especially their latest album, is very green and purple. I just, those are the colors that I associate with it, so that's the colors that I wanted to bring into it. And then it just so happened, and I was like, oh, well, I can like do that with all of them. So it started kind of as an accident, but all of them have a very clear color story, and that makes me really happy. So Bring Me is very green and purple. Final Fantasy is very green, like the mana in the game. Laurier Gaudreau is just orange. And then, as I explained, for Choujin X, I went with the main color of every character. And then for Suspiria, I decided to go with a red, but it's my art, so it's #mycolor. It's the like pinky red that I love to put in everything. I really wanted to add a lot of texture, play around, see what I could do with it. I tried to have different poses, different actions. I decided to not have all of them be portraits, but a couple of them are, and then have like at least 2 action. I just wanted to have variety, have fun, and I'm really happy with these pieces. I think that they're really, really cool, and I'm so glad that they exist and I'm able to finally put them into the world. So let's talk a bit about the future now that we're wrapping up. I have a lot less time to work on these than I used to. As you can see, my output is like getting ridiculously slow, which means that I do have to, but also really want to use that time to do stuff that I really want to do. So right now I've been really locking in on my novel project, as I've been talking about so many times. So I don't know, I'm guessing that the next few videos or the next year or so is going to be a lot more character focused. It's going to be a lot less involved than it has been. I don't know where we're going. I know that there's going to be at least one short positive review this year because I'm already reading it, but we'll see where it leads. Anyway, thank you so much if you've been watching this video until this point. It means so much to me, and I hope to see you very soon. You can follow me all around the screen, and once again, thank you for coming around.